It might look a bit ambitious, but yes, we will try to assess real scientific papers, particularly controversial scientific papers. Very controversial papers, as you will see, are easier to evaluate. In the process, we will try to demystify scientific papers and hopefully give science journalists an incentive to at least try to read them. Before we look at the papers, we reacquaint ourselves with the Children's Medical Safety Research Institute. In case you don't remember what was written on their homepage, we will write it here. It is written, "There is a growing worldwide epidemic of chronic disease and disability." And the CMSRI adds that it is dedicated to finding the cause of this epidemic and then fix it. If you have time, visit the website of the World Health Organization to check the statement. In fact, since people worldwide do not die of starvation anymore, they live longer, you will find out about the growing number of individuals who can become affected by cancer, obesity, and diabetes. Now, to understand the CMSRI statement, you need to realize that this group believes that it is the vaccines that make the world sick. Needless to say, a scientific paper concluding that vaccinated individuals are more prone to diseases than unvaccinated people would be like the holy grail of the anti-vaccine activists. And the wish was granted. Someone with a PhD, a graduate from McGill University, Montreal, Canada, produced such a paper at the end of 2016. When a paper or scientist comes up with a claim that contradicts accepted wisdom, it is important for a science journalist to closely examine such a paper. First, let's find out this scientific paper concluding that children without vaccines fare better than children who are vaccinated. The link to the paper leads to the website of an open access journal called Journal of Translational Science, and it is published by a company called Open Access Text. The title of the paper is Pilot Comparative Study on the Health of Vaccinated and Unvaccinated 6 to 12-year-old U.S. Children. Then type the title of the paper in Google. You will find a lot. There are many references. Most lead to anti-vaccine blogs and organizations, while a few to blogs and websites that raise serious issues about the paper. And we find that the paper has been retracted. It was first published in the online open access journal Frontiers in Public Health, but the journal subsequently retracted the paper. But our friends at the CMSRI say that it has not been retracted because we can still find it in the Journal of Translational Science. And the CMSRI goes on to attack the fact-checking site Snopes and another organization called Retraction Watch. What is going on? This is a lot of discussion for a scientific paper, thousands of them being never read by anybody. This slide gives an overview of the turbulent life of a controversial paper. Initially published in 2016, taken out of the pages of the scientific journal or retracted a few days later, but republished in another journal a few months later. A retracted paper is a scientific article that has been published in a scientific journal but later discredited and retrieved from the journal. This might happen because the researchers subsequently realized that they made an error in good faith, or because the editor of the journal or other scientist found something wrong with the paper. Science journalist Ivan Orensky created the website Retraction Watch to gather all these questionable papers. It is an increasingly important tool for journalists who need to check credentials of scientific papers, journals, and controversial scientists. Retraction Watch had a lot to say about the paper called Pilot Comparative Study on the Health of Vaccinated and Unvaccinated 6 to 12-year-old U.S. children. And Retraction Watch discovered that there is a thread of questionable paper from the same author. How can you find rapidly about the credibility of a scientific paper? Remember that since anti-vaccine activists seek public visibility more than scientific consensus, there is a high probability that the paper has been posted on the internet and then commented on the blog of a genuine vaccine expert, or even better, by the Retraction Watch team. If you want to proceed in a science journalism way, follow the money. Check who funded the study and whom would benefit from its conclusions. Check if the paper is structured in such a way that it can only conclude in a very specific, narrow way, and that no alternative explanations are presented. And if more time is available, check if the study meets the scientific requirements of a good study. In the next few slides, we will be even more ambitious and try to assess the science in the scientific paper.